Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out. I've been practicing since, about 4 o'clock. That's when Chris finally woke me up. I thought I had slept so good. I thought it was at least 5. My alarm was off at 5:30. And I got to stumbling around. I was like, it's only 4. It was before 4. How come I'm up before 4? But all is well. But just another opportunity to practice trusting Him and peacing out. Isn't that what it's all about? It's just all about learning how to get in that zone of I'm just going to trust you, God, no matter what, right? I hope you're having a great week. I hope you're having a great day. What is today? I don't even know what today is. Wednesday. It's hump day. So don't forget to grab a copy of Commander Morning, brand new book I just released just a little bit earlier this month. I think I may have got it out by the end of January. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look, but got this one up, and then there's other devotionals there on Amazon. I've got it's also available on Kindle, so you don't have to just get the paperback if you want to get the Kindle, if you'd rather have the Kindle version. So lots of stuff going on in that arena right now. Just lots of stuff. Anyway, so after yesterday, when we talked about just how big God was and that our fears and our doubts may feel bigger than He is, but they're not. He's so much bigger than our fears, our doubts, our circumstances, our situations, our struggles, our troubles, our grief, our fill in the blank, right? He's so much bigger than anything we've got on our plate. Doesn't that, if He wasn't bigger than all our stuff, why would we take it to Him, right? What would be the point of Him being God if He wasn't able to help us overcome these things that must look so little to Him, so insignificant to the kingdom. But they're important to us because it's a part of our day. It's a part of our lives. It's a part of what we're going through, right? And He doesn't say, that's really not important. He goes, here, let me help you get through that so we can get on to something else. But let me walk with you through that. Let me get you through this. I'm right here. It's okay. And so I was thinking about how big He was now. He's bigger than all that. And from that, I thought there's a scripture that says, what can you compare God with? So I thought a little bit. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's in Isaiah. Could be Jeremiah, but it is. It's in Isaiah 40. It's actually, let's see, I've got this chapter all marked up, but it says, in verse, there it is, 25, to whom then will you liken me that I would be His equal, says the Holy One. God's going, who are you going to compare me to? What am I like? And I'm like, I think there's not anything that we can even draw a comparison, an analogy to what God is like, because He's everywhere. We talk about that a lot. He doesn't have the capacity to leave because He's already where He would go, but He's still already also still here. So He's so omnipresent. He is everywhere. David even said, where can I go from your presence? Where can I go hide from you? You see me when I leave trying to get out of your presence, and you see me running back and sliding in on my knees, right? That's not in Psalm 139, but that was the intent of that, right? But how can you compare God to anything? You can say this is kind of like this, but there's not an analogy for God. He's so big. He's so all-consuming. He's all omnipresent. He's all powerful. And so as I was looking at that, verse 25, what are you going to compare me with? What am I equal to? And you have to remember, the enemy of our soul, the devil, he's not an equal and opposite God than God. He's not, everything God does, he can do on the bad. No, he's not that way. He is not equal to God, just on a different playing field. He is way below. He doesn't have the power. He's not omnipresent. He wants you to think that our enemy wants us to think that way, that He's omnipresent, that He's everywhere. His little probably demons are, but He's not omnipresent. He's not all powerful. He is. So there's nothing that we can say, this is what God is like, right? And then we find in the Old Testament, especially, they would build an idol. They would set up, they would get gold or silver. We even have it as early as Genesis, where God goes and delivers His people, Exodus, I guess, but He goes and delivers His people out of Egypt, brings them to Himself in the wilderness. And the first thing they did when Moses was looking the other way was build a golden calf. These are the gods that brought us up out of Egypt. No, they weren't. Those gods are not equal to God. You can't compare God to anything because there's not anything even close enough like him that you can say, oh, God is like this, because God is like everything, right? But if you go back in this chapter a little bit, you get a good idea of like the enormity of God, like what we talked about yesterday about how big he is. It says he measured the waters in the hollow of his hand. Think about that. What picture was Isaiah seeing in his head? But to see God, he's measuring out the waters going, there's the Sea of Galilee. There's going to be a storm there later. Jesus is going to come. That's going to be good to watch. That's going to be fun to watch. Okay. And here's the sea of this or the sea of that. Here's the oceans. He measured the waters of the earth in the hollow of his hand, the palm of his hand. And notice it says hand, not hands. So he can hold all the water of the earth. And the earth is mostly water that we see, right? A lot of land too, but it's so much water. He holds it in the palm of one hand. I really can't get my brain around that. I really can't. Then it says he marked off the heavens by the span. Well, the span is a non-traditional, non-conventional measure, but they didn't have a lot of conventional. They didn't have a meter and a foot. I don't know where we came up with a foot. Somebody's foot was 12 inches long. What a weird thing to build a whole system of measurement on, right? But anyway, they didn't have those things. So they used the span, they used the cubit, and it was abouts. It was a lot of abouts, although no measurement is actually exact. It's always an estimate, but that's a math topic. Anyway, so the span is actually from the pinky to the thumb. This is the span of the hand. So it says he marked off the heavens by the span. He goes, okay, let's see, put Mars here, and we put Jupiter here, put the Earth over here. He used his hand to measure where to put things. Now, obviously, I'm sure that's an imaginative statement. I'm sure God wasn't sitting up there trying to figure out how far can Mars be from the Earth and not run into each other. When he just created it, this all just came into place. So he didn't even really measure it that way. It all fully, he had, with the breath that made those words come out of his mouth, right? He created a fully functional solar system that we know, and many more we're finding out, and an earth that could completely sustain itself. It was totally, maybe it's a span from the sun, because it was a perfect distance from the sun to sustain life. And it's still sustaining life. Every day, it still waters, and he says the seasons will remain as long as the earth remains. He's not sitting up there measuring it, spinning it, make sure it's going the right speed to keep everybody on it, not throw us all off. It's not going to stop. It's not going to slow down. God is so amazing when you think about creation. I love studying creation passages. Okay, then it says that he calculated the dust of the earth by the measure. He measured out. Here's the Sahara Desert. Here's the wilderness. My children are going to walk through that wilderness for a long time. But they'll eventually come back to, here's Canaan, here's Israel, here's the land I'm going to give them. I wonder if he had fun with it. I don't think he did. But he measured, he weighed out, he calculated the dust of the earth by the measure and weighed the mountains in a balance, which is a small scale, balance, basically a scale. But it's a balance scale because they didn't have digital scales. Imagine that back then, right? And he measured the mountains. This one's a little bit Everett. Oh, I think this one's a little bit taller. This is kind of a cool one. McKinley, here's Mount McKinley. He probably has his own names because those people didn't even exist yet, right? And it says he weighed the mountains in a balance and the hills in a pair of scales. Who has directed the Spirit of the Lord, or has been his counselor? Who is his counselor? He said, where did God go to school? Where did God learn to measure the sand and the water and balance the earth? Where did he learn about centrifugal force? Where did he learn about gravitational pull? Where did he learn? Where did he get it? I know he revealed it to Einstein and all these guys, Newton and all these guys that discovered what God already knew. We think they were great brains just because they discovered what God already knew, and they were. But what a greater brain, system of thinking, system of creation that God is, that he made those things, and with very little effort. God is so magnificent. There's nothing to compare to that. We look at those great brains of our time, Einstein, Stephen Hawking. We look at the great brains of our time and we go, man, These guys are amazing. And Madam Curry, yeah, some girls too. These people were amazing. They were intellectuals. And God's going, really? They discovered what I already knew. They discovered what I had already set in place. But discovery is a wonderful part of life. And then we began to discover that God is so much bigger than our imaginations have ever let us even go to, right? In our brains and in our thoughts. We'll never get there. There's nothing to compare God to. But the coolest thing about knowing this magnificent, omnipresent, omnipowerful, huge, all space and time consuming, loving God is that He wants a relationship with us. Does that not just blow your mind? That God that said, Mars and Earth, about here, put the stars here. I'm gonna and He knows all the stars' names. He doesn't forget them. I don't do names well. He doesn't forget them. He named all the stars. We don't know what those names are, but He knows when a star falls out of the heavens, when a star is formed off in the distance, when another galaxy, I don't know, when all these things, He knows all of that. And yet what His choice is to walk through today, February 26th, 2025, with you. Does that not just blow your mind? As a matter of fact, it made me think of a chorus I wrote. I wrote it in 2004, it looks like. And it says this, and I would sing it, but I want y'all to keep watching, okay? But how could such a great God dwell among us? This mighty one of Israel, God of power and might. But in our hearts, He wants to dwell. Yes, in our hearts, He wants to dwell. I can't comprehend His vast presence. Heaven and earth, He does fill. But His choice, get that, His choice of habitation is in the heart that is still. How cool is that? That God could choose to live anywhere. He could choose to hang out anywhere because He is everywhere. But His choice of habitation is with you, right where you are today. No matter what you're facing, no matter what you're going through, no matter what opportunities you're getting to piece out, I'm getting lots of them too, right? He wants to walk through today with you, in union with you. He wants to be invited into your day, and He wants to walk through today with you. This mighty God that we can't even fathom His enormity, His power, His glory, His majesty. I'm going to try, but I'm inviting Him into my day because that's going to make my day a whole lot better, and it's going to make it a whole lot easier for me to peace out. Peace out, you guys. Have a great day. See you again tomorrow.